I watch the rallies, I listen to the parliamentary debate, and if there is one truth rising above the noise, it is this: Bahamians are not confused, they are unconvinced, and they have every right to be. What the government calls misinformation is, in fact, the predictable result of a leadership class that has asked the people to trust a silence they did not choose. Instead of clarity, we have half truths. Instead of transparency, we have deflection. And instead of national consultation, we have a hurried bill with a chorus of officials insisting, quote unquote, don't panic, you misunderstand. But the Bahamian people did not misunderstand. They were underinformed. And that distinction matters. As someone who has worked inside the United Nations system, both with UNHCR and the International Organization for Migration in the Bahamas, I recognize exactly what is happening. Nothing fuels public suspicion faster than withheld information. Nothing breeds distrust faster than obligations accepted in silence. The real controversy surrounding the asylum bill is not about migrants. It is about missing context, hidden pressures, and governments unwilling to tell the whole story. Let us begin with a fact that should shock no one but seems to surprise many. The Bahamas has not ratified the 1951 Refugee Convention nor its 1967 protocol. This means there is no formal domestic asylum system, no refugee status pathway, no nationally defined procedures for screening those seeking protection. Civil society organizations, including the Advocates for Human Rights, as we observe Human Rights Day today, have highlighted this legal gap for years. Yet, in Parliament, government members use the language of international refugee protection, non-refoulement, international obligations, protection standards, as though the Bahamas had a fully developed refugee regime. How can obligations suddenly appear in domestic legislation when the underlying treaties were never ratified? The answer is uncomfortable. No single treaty in 2024 forced this legislation. This bill is the cumulative pressure of years of regional dialogues, soft law commitments, UN funded capacity building, international expectations, and increasing migration flows. Soft law becomes moral pressure. Moral pressure becomes political pressure. Political pressure becomes legislation, and Bahamians are left out of the conversation entirely. Yes, the first aid courses happen. Yes, the gender based violence awareness sessions happen. Yes, the migrant support programs and capacity building workshops took place. No one imagined these things. We all saw them. But here is what the government did not say. These programs do not simply appear. They are not impromptu goodwill exercise, and they are rarely funded exclusively by the Bahamian Treasury. Anyone who understands international migration governance knows this. Such trainings are the footprints of agreements, the evidence of obligations, the aftershocks of commitments made in diplomatic rooms the public was never invited into. When IOM, UNHCR, UNFEA, UNICEF, PAHO, or others deliver technical training, it is almost always because the government has stepped into frameworks that expect improved humanitarian standards, even if the treaties themselves are non-binding. But the Bahamian people were never told. Which meetings produced these expectations? Which agreements shaped those programs? Or what obligations accompany the funding? So while ministers boast, the people ask the only reasonable question in a democracy. What deal did you make that you forgot to tell us about? The training is the smoke. The commitments are the fire. And the government has yet to acknowledge the flame. Yes, the asylum bill was published. Bahamians read it. They voiced concerns loudly, logically. Then on Monday, Parliament abruptly removed paragraph 11, the very clause that had caused public alarm. This deletion is not proof of public misunderstanding. It is proof of why public scrutiny was necessary. Had Bahamians not raised the alarm, paragraph 11 would still be in the bill today. Consultation would have exposed the issue early. Instead, the government amended the law only after the people sounded the alarm. This is the cost of legislating in silence. This is the burden placed on a population forced to watchdog its own government. Communications Director Latre Ramming assures us the bill is simple and misunderstood. Attorney General Ryan Pinder warns that the public is misreading it, but neither seems willing to admit the truth. Bahamians read what was on the page, and they noticed the clause you later removed. The public did not misread the bill. The government misjudged the public. And when officials lecture citizens about misunderstanding, they obscure the real problem. The government never shared the backstory. The international pressures, the meetings, the frameworks, the funding arrangements, the expectations. Bahamians were given the conclusion of a play while the entire first act was kept behind the curtain. Let us bury this false narrative once and for all. Bahamians are not anti-Haitian. Bahamians are not anti-migrant. Bahamians are not opposed to human rights. Bahamians are demanding transparency because they love their country and because they know no nation can survive governance by silence. This is not xenophobia. This is citizenship. Our legal infrastructure is dangerously incomplete. No refugee law, no formal asylum procedures, no national screening protocol, no uniform standards, no published obligations, no cost analysis, no stakeholder engagement, and now we face increasing regional instability and rising migration flows. This is not a sustainable model. This is a vulnerability, legally, socially, economically, and geopolitically. If the Bahamas is to regain public trust, the government must release a full record of all migration-related commitments from the last decade. Publish after action reports for international meetings, every single one. Conduct national consultation before passing any migration bill. Build a migration framework that matches our actual capacity. Anchor legislation not only in what the world expects, but in what our people understand. I say this without hesitation. An international order that is not inclusive, fair, or grounded in moral legitimacy will ultimately fail. Likewise, a legislative process that hides its content cannot earn the confidence of its people. Publishing the text is not transparency. Publishing the context is. Paragraph 11's disappearance proves this government's instinct was not transparency, only reaction to public pressure, and the people deserve better than that.